Hi everybody, I'm Chris Byrne from Healthwatch Worcestershire, one of the directors with the responsibility for cancer, bringing cancer awareness back to the NHS so they know what's going on locally, because people talk to us that they may not necessarily talk to their doctors about. Today we've got Phil with us, and Phil is a prostate cancer patient.
I am, yes. And I'm also part of the Worcestershire Prostate Cancer Support Group, um, and trying to do our best to make men aware of prostate cancer and the risks they might face.
Yeah, Healthwatch has worked with the Worcestershire Prostate Cancer Support Group over the last couple of years. We've done surveys of men who've attended their PSA testing sessions. So we've got a pretty good idea of how men are treated when they go to their GP and why the Worcestershire Prostate Cancer Support Group has to have PSA testing sessions. Phil.
Yeah, I mean, during our conversations with people that join the group, a recurring theme comes up that a lot of men find it difficult to get a test via the GP. And the experience that these men have with their GPs varies enormously.
Yeah.
And some men that have tried to get a test with their PSA, with their GP, will come to one of our events as an alternative.
Yeah. So we've interviewed over 250 men who've attended your events, and that's exactly right. It's really quite frightening when you think about it, because prostate cancer is the biggest killer for cancer of men in the UK,
Yeah, indeed.
isn't it? You know?
Yeah, as you probably know, 12,000 men a year die from prostate cancer. And the startling fact is that 10,000 of those 12,000 are detected at stage 4. So, one of the reasons why we do PSA testing and why we do a lot of awareness talks and events is that we want men to realise that the earlier they get tested, or the earlier they get diagnosed with prostate cancer, the better chance they've got of surviving.
So we really want men who are at higher risk of prostate cancer to get in front of a GP.
Yeah, indeed.
And that is a real problem at the moment, because it is variable, isn't it?
It is.
As you
I'll
said.
tell you my own story.
Do.
So I had another cancer, malignant melanoma, and during that time, a visit to my GP, he organised a PSA test, which was great because that was a proactive way. That PSA test came back within the normal range, but it was towards the top end. Sometime later, I sort of realised that I hadn't had a repeat PSA test for some time. Went back to the same surgery, but visiting a different GP, actually a locum, who persuaded me, unfortunately persuaded me, that because I hadn't got any symptoms, and I was still quite young, I was 58, 59 at the time, 58 I think, that it probably wasn't, I don't have any symptoms, it probably wasn't a prostate issue, and I would have to have invasive tests and be long and drawn out, and I would have lots of visits to the hospital, etc. And
So
as I was fit and healthy,
So he was trying to put you off, was he?
it was a lady, but yes, trying to put me off. Unfortunately, I bought it. I went back some months, maybe a year later, asking again for a PSA test. Saw a different GP, and it came back as an 18. My Gleason score
So that's quite high,
was
isn't
4
it?
plus 5.
Yeah.
I now have stage 4 prostate cancer.
Right. Right.
So my experience of the GPs is the variation that I hear from the guys that we speak to.
Yeah.
I speak to one guy who says my GP's saying, you don't need a PSA test. You're only young, you're 50 something,
Yeah.
which is scary, considering what the guidelines say.
Yeah.
Other men stood next to the same guy saying, I just rang up my reception and they just scheduled a PSA test.
Yeah.
So the experience varies enormously, even within Worcestershire.
Yeah, the surveys that we've done as Healthwatch, I think the figures off the top of my head were something like 37% of GPs were not keen to offer a PSA test. They either said no, or come back when you have symptoms, or if pushed, they would offer a PSA test.
What was scary thing happened to me a few weeks ago is I was speaking to a couple of guys. One said, "Oh, I've just had a PSA test." Turned to his mate and said, "When do I need to have another one?" And his mate said, "Oh, 2 years." And I said to this guy, "Why have you said 2 years?" He said, "Well, I'm a GP." And I said, "Well, I don't understand the 2 year thing." And he said, "Well, in between time, if the man presents with symptoms, then we can investigate again." And I said to him, "Look, I didn't have symptoms. There was a couple of years between my normal PSA test and my PSA of 18. I didn't have any symptoms. 2 years is too long."
2 years is too long. So that's just made me think of Sir Chris Hoy. Now, Sir Chris Hoy, fit man, athlete. It turned out that his father had prostate cancer. He didn't have any symptoms. He was diagnosed at stage 4
Yep.
prostate cancer. Okay. What does the guidance say? Let's have a look at the guidance. The NHS Prostate Cancer Risk Management Programme, PCRMP, provides GPs and primary care professionals with information to counsel asymptomatic men aged over 50 and over who ask about prostate-specific antigen PSA testing for prostate cancer. Any asymptomatic man aged 50 and over can make an appointment with their GP to discuss having the PSA test. We've already heard that is not happening consistently. That needs to change. GPs, it goes on to say, and I am actually reading what the guidance says here. Listen to this one. GPs should not proactively raise the issue with asymptomatic men.
Yeah.
Now, Sir Chris Hoy, family history, his father, prostate cancer, that puts him into the higher risk category.
Yeah. I was also a son of a father that had prostate cancer, but that didn't even come up in either conversation with the GP.
It's outrageous.
And in fact, at the time, I wasn't aware that was a thing.
Yeah.
So we need to get that awareness out.
Yeah.
Together with getting tested from the age of 50, together with, if you're black, you're twice as likely to have prostate cancer. So the figures are, if you're not black, you've got a 1 in 8 chance of getting prostate cancer during your lifetime. If you're black, that's 1 in 4. If you've got a family history and you're not black, it's twice as likely to get prostate cancer, even if you've got one family member with prostate cancer. If you've got multiple, then that risk increases. If you're black and have a family history, again, that risk doubles up.
It does.
Really need to get the message out to those higher risk people. I consider anyone over 50 has an increased risk. With black men and people with family history, the sort of age that you need to be looking at is 45, and a lot of groups are pushing for an even lower age limit.
Yeah, I think the key take home at this point in the conversation is that there's too much variability currently going on amongst the GP population out there. It really all depends on who you talk to, when you talk to them, as to what response you get. So the current actual guidelines for GPs is not being consistently delivered by GPs. That needs to change.
Yeah.
That needs to change. GPs, most of the GPs that I talk to understand that and get it. But for some reason, when a man turns up at the desk and says, my mate has had a diagnosis of prostate cancer, I'm 50, 55, my dad's had prostate cancer, it should be an automatic, let's make it an appointment for your GP and have a discussion about it.
Yeah. I think also some GPs are concerned about the fact that the PSA testing isn't, seen as that reliable.
Yeah, but it isn't really.
No, you can have a high PSA test without having prostate cancer.
Yeah.
And you can have a low PSA test with having prostate cancer. And I think the decision that the NSC has made on screening hasn't helped with that conversation either. I think there's a reluctance for PSA testing from the GPs because there would then be a follow-on. If it's I think they need to be able to rule out prostate cancer. So I think there's also a thought from GPs that we don't want to put people through unnecessary treatment, but I think that's for the medical profession to control that and their expertise. So these days versus sort of times gone by, there's much better use made now of MRI before a biopsy is considered, and the MRI also now aids the biopsy, and the biopsy the way that that's done now is better and less risky. It used to be quite risky, but then you now use different methods to make biopsies much less risky. But once you've had an MRI and a biopsy, you've then got a full picture of your prostate cancer diagnosis.
And I think this is exactly what we want. We want the high risk men to be identified, and we want them to get in front of a GP, so the GPs can make a clinical decision as to what's the best thing to do for that person, to take into account their history.
Yeah.
What we don't want is the opposite of that, is where you get high risk men going into their GP surgery and are turned away because they don't have symptoms. And the questions around, well, do you have a family history?
I was never asked.
Well, precisely.
But they should know, right?
Precisely.
You would think that they would know.
Yeah.
That my records would say that I've got a father that had prostate cancer.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's even possible.
It's not recorded.
Yeah.
It's not recorded. And it's one of those other gaps as well. And I think that one of the things that we would call for is that if your father had prostate cancer, that should be on your medical record. So when you hit the age of 45, if you're black, or 50 if you're white, then that triggers a conversation.
Yeah.
Because prostate cancer kills a lot of men every year, and that needs to stop. Can we turn to the draft UK National Screening Committee?
Yeah.
Decision at the moment. Well, it's not a decision at the moment, but they've come up with
recommendation.
A draft recommendation, which is basically to offer screening to men with confirmed BRCA1 and BRCA2 mutations. And for people who don't understand what that means, is that women who get breast cancer, there's two genes that are implicated in that, BRCA1 and BRCA2. And there's a clear link that they've actually worked out that if your mother has BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes, that your risk of prostate cancer is significantly increased. And they've decided already, looking at the data, that screening for those men would make a lot of sense. The big question, of course, is how many men have even heard of BRCA1 and BRCA2?
Yeah, so I find it difficult to understand them singling out BRCA1 and BRCA2 as a reason for screening versus your ethnicity versus your family history.
Well, I think to be fair to them, the reason is because the data is quite obvious.
Yeah.
The data is clear for that. The data isn't clear it isn't clear at, at the level that they want it to be clear
For me,
for
the
them.
data is very clear.
Yeah,
10,000 men a year detected at stage 4 die from prostate cancer.
yeah,
Another 2,000 presumably not preventable, and that's the nature of the disease.
yeah,
The BRCA1 and BRCA2 conversation for me is a distraction. There's only, I think it's about 1% of the whole population that has the BRCA1 or BRCA2 gene. It varies it's different figure for 1 and 2. But if you average it out, it's about 1%. Who's going to know if
yeah,
they've got BRCA1 or BRCA2 unless they've gone and got tested? How do they know they need to go and get tested? For me, you'd have to test the whole nation for BRCA1 and BRCA2 to say these are the people we need to screen. It just doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
yeah. The actual process of uncovering who these particular men are is unclear.
No.
Unclear. So what else is going on, of course, is the Transform trial.
Yeah.
Now, the Transform trial will produce significant amounts of quality data in 2 to 3 years' time.
Yeah.
One of the issues with the Transform trial is that they need to have significant numbers of black men to go into the trial in order to produce the data that they need in order to come up with a screening program for black men or men in general. So black men have issues with the NHS.
They do, and I've spoken to black men in various conversations. They have more of an issue about getting tested, especially the DRE, than white men seem to.
Yeah.
That's obviously a cultural thing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we don't see that many black men in our support group,
No.
which is a great shame. Might be a little bit about the area that we're in Worcestershire.
Yeah.
But I think it's more likely to be that they don't engage as much as our community does.
I think we'll try and do something similar to this for black men's groups in Worcestershire. We'll look to do that, I think, going forward. There's a gap, really, between a need to actually identify high-risk men today and when the Transform trial begins to produce information that can change how the medics work. And that's all around identifying who the high-risk men are, get them in front of a doctor, have that conversation, look at their family history and work out what's the best way forward.
I think it's very important for men, if they're asked to join the trial, to do that.
Yeah.
I think the challenge that the trial is going to have is engaging with men full stop. As you mentioned earlier, we're not very easy to engage with in terms of medical things, and even more difficult to engage with black men. But I've seen the criteria that they're going to be inviting people to that trial, and it's fairly restrictive. I think one of them was not had a PSA test in the last 2 years. And things like that. Now we're doing our best to publicise and make awareness for men about prostate cancer, and the more we do that, the less likely they're going to be eligible for the trial. So I think there's difficulty, and the other thing that worries me about the trial is I think it's very important for somebody to be investigating better testing, absolutely, and for somebody to be looking to gather the actual data that we all sort of know in our hearts, and therefore the Transform trial is a good thing on that respect. But what it mustn't do is stop testing now, as has been said on television today by Chris Hoy. We can't afford to have 10,000, 12,000 men die a year whilst we're waiting for a trial to report its findings.
Yeah.
We've got the best we've got at the moment is PSA testing, coupled with MRI, coupled with biopsy.
Yeah.
We need to promote that. We need to get men to the doctors.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we can't just sit back and wait for a trial to report in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And I think the full findings won't be reported for 10 to 15 years.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, that's thousands of men. We can't wait.
Yeah, it's about what could we do today.
Yes.
And what we can do today is we can identify, we can identify the high risk men, get them in front of their GP, look at their family history, get them tested, get them triaged, monitor them, treat them. But you can do that today.
Yeah.
Rather than say, well, actually come back when you have symptoms.
Yeah.
At which case you're going to get stage 3, stage 4.
And one of your
prostate
treatments
cancer.
might be active surveillance.
Absolutely.
It may not be an actual treatment, but at least you'll be on someone's radar.
Yeah.
And there'll be frequent testing and frequent MRIs to make sure that your prostate cancer is slow growing, not going to impact your life, versus the prostate cancer that I had, which is advanced aggressive prostate cancer that has put me into stage 4.
Yeah. How do you feel now? What's your health like at the moment? Are you okay?
Yeah, well, I'm good. I'm fit. I'm running. Done 4 half marathons this year.
Yeah.
Plan to do a marathon next year.
Yeah.
The hormone therapy does try to prevent me doing that sort of stuff. Fatigue is a big issue.
Yeah.
Hot sweats were a very big issue until I'm now taking another medicine that's pretty much sorted out the hot sweats. That's made a big difference to my quality of life.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I try to live as normal and as an active life as I can. And Chris Hoy was on TV today saying you've got life continues as normal. You've got to embrace every day. You've got to have fun. You've got to do the things you want to do. Don't let prostate cancer stop you doing stuff as long as you can. So yeah, otherwise I'm good, thank you.
Good to hear that, thank you. What do you say to those men? I think you briefly mentioned earlier, what do you say to those men who've tried to get a PSA test and been refused?
Yeah, so the advice I usually offer is A, go and see a different doctor. B, we do run, not just us, other organisations also run PSA tests during the year, which we help out with in terms of organisation and admin and that sort of stuff. But as a group, we tend to put out 3 or 4 testing. We try to vary it around the county, and we always get a full take up of that. So there's obviously a big need for that. I'd also say to contact yourselves, Healthwatch, because I know you guys, are looking out for patients and also are able to put their viewpoint to the NHS and try and improve things.
We do. The stat that I found quite interesting from talking to the Worcestershire Prostate Cancer Support Group is that you seem to identify somewhere in the region of about 8% of patients who get tested regularly. That seems to be a common number. Is that right?
Yeah. So we obviously we don't do the testing ourselves. We use Graham Fulford.
Yes.
They come back with the stats. The stats have varied a bit just lately.
Have they?
I think Graham Fulford have altered their green, amber, red criteria a little bit.
Okay.
So the percentage of men in the red has gone up a little bit.
Has it? Do you happen to have a figure in your head?
No, I think normally we'd see about 8%.
Yeah.
And I think it's gone up to about 12%.
Okay.
So
I think
that's due to a little bit of changing of the bands that Graham Fulford report on.
Understand. Yeah.
We're
But
struggling to understand that, because when the men get a result that's not good, they then need to go to their GP and say, "I've had this test."
Yeah. And the first thing they
So
do
there's going to be a
is
mismatch.
yeah.
There.
The key message from that is that every testing session that you guys run,
Yeah.
and they are run very professionally.
Yeah.
I have been to them. You're identifying somewhere between 8 to 12% of patients who need to go and have a conversation with their GP.
Yes.
And the first thing that the GP will do is they'll do a family history.
Yeah.
And
hope.
yeah. And they will do a PSA test.
Yes.
Won't they?
Yes.
To confirm the result that you've already had.
Yes.
That's the first thing they do.
Yes. Yeah.
So please continue doing it, because you're identifying 8 to 12% of men who need investigation.
Yeah.
But of course, they're having to pay for that themselves, aren't they? So this should be on the NHS.
Yes, it should be on the NHS. I mean, the funding, we ask for a donation.
Yeah.
So, we try to fund via several different methods the PSA testing. But obviously that depends on, charity and people, making donations to make that possible.
Yeah.
We do find that men that come are grateful that they have a test, and they do donate afterwards. So that's good. But as you say, it should be, they shouldn't have to come to a PSA testing on a Saturday morning.
No.
They should be able to go to their GP and get straight into a diagnosis.
Yeah, and I think that brings us to a close, really. I think it comes back to, there is some guidance out there at the moment for GPs and for patients. It's not being consistently met.
No.
There's a gap.
Or followed.
Or followed.
Yeah.
Exactly. That needs to change.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the big message from Healthwatch Worcestershire is that variance leads to inequalities of treatment.
And I think the guideline, also having read it, leaves some latitude for GPs in that they make the decision as whether to offer a PSA test, and that's sort of in the guidelines. It doesn't say men over 50 who are white, men over 45 who are black or have family history, test them. It doesn't say that.
No.
And it needs to.
Yeah. Finally, Phil, any last words from you?
No, not really. Apart from we need to make sure that people are aware of prostate cancer and that they are at risk, and they need to go and do the risk checker.
Prostate Cancer
UK have an online risk checker that will tell them if they need to go and get a PSA test. And we need to keep putting the pressure on at least our local health service to make sure that doctors are aware that they need to give that PSA test when it's asked for. Yeah.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll draw it to a close there. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.